And now this. There seems to be an epidemic of sorts throughout both the developed world and the developing world of anger and demonstrations. And now we're seeing it as well in the Middle East. Remember, we've been telling you about what's happening in Europe. You've seen France, you've seen Spain, Chile. Now, remember, the last time this happened in the Middle East, though, it became known as the Arab Spring. It appears that type of regional pushback, if nothing else, is happening again. And for more on this, let's turn over to NRS Special Correspondent Michele Greenstein, who's been following what's going on. What is going on?
Well, today we learned that the president of Iraq actually said that the prime minister would resign if all political parties could agree on who his replacement would be. Now, this comes after tens of thousands of people, as we know, have been taking to the streets. These are demonstrations that are fueled mainly in response to corruption, economic inequality, including the government's refusal to spread the country's oil wealth to the masses. These are massive protests across all classes, during which, unfortunately, over 200 people have been killed and over 2,000 have been injured. Let's take a listen to one of the voices from the ground.
Last night, the riot police chased and attacked us with tear gas canisters and sound bombs, resulting in the deaths of some protesters.
Now, you could say a similar situation is unfolding in Lebanon. In Lebanon, the prime minister announced his resignation on Tuesday, and there have been celebrations in the streets in response to that. And these protests started on October 17th, mainly, again, triggered by economic grievances. The government tried to introduce a whole new set of taxes on WhatsApp calls, on tobacco, on petrol. And WhatsApp is actually very significant here because phone calls are very expensive, so they do use WhatsApp to communicate. Now, these new taxes were quickly canceled, but this is really seen as symptomatic of a deeper economic situation where everything is just too expensive. Wealth inequality is extreme. Jobs are scarce. You don't even get electricity for the full day unless you go out and buy your own generator. So in terms of the reaction from the people on the ground, they say that, yes, the resignation of this prime minister is, of course, a good thing. But again, they see it as just a first step. Take a listen.
Now we are marching in this protest to say all of them means all of them, all the corrupt ones, and they know themselves very well. We have started from the Central Bank of Lebanon and are now heading to the square to say that all of Lebanon is united.
Now, what's significant about Lebanon, Rick, is that the government is run by various political parties or sects, and you actually get public services through your own sect. So in this way, it's easy to kind of keep people divided along these sectarian lines. In order to access, basic public services, you have to go through your sect. So for this reason, people say that some real unifying organizing capacities have really been wiped out due to this political process. And as our fellow journalist Rania Khalek, I think actually hit the nail on the head by saying this. She said it's just institutionalized identity politics. But now, for the first time in a while, people nationwide are rejecting this sectarian system. We have some, of course, rejecting certain parties and continuing to be divided along these political lines. But the vast majority of people are rejecting the entire sectarian system. So it is quite a unifying movement.
What about social programs? Aren't they supposed to have them in these countries, or are they diminishing social programs in lieu of market reforms?
That's a really good point. You could say that what we're witnessing worldwide is that people are reacting to programs of austerity, these policies that, really start diminishing social and economic programs that would benefit the masses in favor of a small majority. Sometimes they say, oh, oligarchs are running our country. That's something you hear a lot on these streets. Now, I want to take you to a quote by Dr. Ali Qadri, who was the visiting fellow at the Department of International Development and also the principal author of several UN reports. He says, with regard to the situation in Lebanon, that calling for the removal of the sectarian system without removing its associated capital will rotate the same class into power with another form of sectarianism. So here he is saying that just because we have lots of people on the streets demanding an end to the system and, of course, demanding change as they are in other countries around the world, just because they want the entire government gone does not mean that we will necessarily see, a positive aggregate result come out of this movement on its face.
Good stuff. Thank you for bringing us up to date on what's going on there in those countries in the Middle East. Thank you. So you haven't heard that we're the ones covering the stories that you won't see covered anywhere else? In Venezuela, Kazakhstan. Let's go to Hong Kong. And the media reaction to that has been crickets. How about the way we cover those stories? What the hell does that mean? Wally, Wally, Wally. That's the key word in this case, uprising. Keep? Can you believe that? Watching. This is the right thing for members of the media to do, to actually pick sides. Look, if you like what you see, subscribe.